There it is right there on the radar scan. Green are winds blowing towards the right portion of your TV set. Red, the opposite direction. We have that tight couplet right now immediately west of Hardinsburg. And folks, this is heading right towards the Hardinsburg area. So you can see Highway 105 immediately east of there. This is very close to Hardinsburg now. The latest updated radar here places it on the west side of Hardinsburg, very close to U.S. Highway 60. And this is all moving eastbound very, very quickly. This is in addition to what could be a larger scale of straight line wind damage, powerful winds on the leading edge of this line segment. Now, the most dangerous part of this cell, i.e. the tornado, moving eastbound. Suzanne, what, we got 40, 50?
50 miles per hour.
50 miles an hour, moving eastbound at 50, will impact these communities, come close to these communities. So if I call out your community or you live close to these communities, this includes you, okay? Hardinsburg right now, Custer 931, the High Plains area 934, Big Spring 938, down to Four Corners and Flaherty as we get a little bit closer to a quarter before the hour, if you will. And this will continue to carry its way rapidly eastbound into eastern portions of Breckinridge County. If it holds together, we could be looking at places like western Hardin County, southern portions of Meade County also impacted by this potential tornadic thunderstorm. Now, in addition to the tornado spin, Suzanne was just showing what we have, the shear or the rotation detector, our product here. Now see this area of brighter green that stretches from Andyville down to just north of Hardinsburg. This is where the leading edge of the powerful wind field is located. So as this moves across any one location, those winds will ramp up dramatically. It could be 60, maybe even 70 miles an hour in a few spots. And this is all sweeping eastbound. So if you're watching from the Brandenburg area, surrounding communities, of course, Hardinsburg and areas off to the east, again, powerful thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms moving through your area. And of immediate concern is the tornado warning that's in effect, what could be a quick spin up, a quick hitting tornado that's very close to Hardinsburg as we speak, pushing towards the Garfield area. This is the hail tracker now. So this storm also has the potential to produce pea to marble-sized hail as it pushes off to the east very, very quickly. And there was another hail core down into Ohio County as well. So powerful storms west and southwest of the metro right now, tracking eastbound, capable of producing some wind damage. Okay, we know where the tornado was located. Now we're going to track the line segment, because this entire leading edge, where it goes from basically no precipitation to that dark red zone, that's where you get the highest winds with these line thunderstorms, so to speak. So Hardinsburg, again, now, in addition to the tornadic spin, Rough River Lake 924, McDaniels around 930, same McCoy, the Bourreville area 932, and Custer around 934. Be on the lookout for the leading edge of this line of storms, which will likely produce some wind damage in scattered locations. And that leading edge is where you see it change from red to green. Farther off to the south, all right, here's Hardinsburg, there's Harnett. This is the tornado rotation that we're talking about, the couplet. Green are winds that are blowing towards the right portion of your TV set. Red, the opposite direction. So we have that little couplet now that's right on U.S. Highway 60 there, very close to Hardinsburg, Garfield, as well as the Harnett area. Suzanne, Eric, you guys, any reports as far as tornado on the ground, anything like that, any visible reports? Okay, so this is all radar indicated at this time.
Yeah, radar indicated, and it's right along that line. If we paint on those warnings, you can see we have a number of warnings that go up and down this line. This is the strongest part of this storm for right now. So you can see we have severe thunderstorm warnings that continue all from north to south through Breckinridge County, through portions of Meade County as well. And we're going to be watching this line of storms continue to make their their eastward progression at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. So they're going to be racing a little bit closer over to areas of Hudson, McDaniels, right near Cobbler's Knob in the next couple of minutes. Heading into Ekron, Brandenburg, you're going to expect to see some gusty winds in your area as well. Then moving over into portions of Rhineyville, right near Elizabethtown. So this is going to be pushing into sections likely of Hardin County as well. As we take off some of those other warnings for you to give you kind of a clearer perspective of what we're watching right now, we only have one tornado warning at this time. It is a radar indicated tornado, but it's right here in the Hardinsburg area. It's heading into Garfield right along 60. It's going to be pushing into High Plains, Woodrow, and Custer in the next couple of minutes. It is a radar indicated tornado, but the bottom line is, even if we're not seeing an actual tornado, we are likely seeing some very strong winds associated with this particular storm that we see here. So right near Harned, we are sampling 51-mile-per-hour winds there. Near Clifton Mills, about 55-mile-per-hour winds. So again, we do have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings, but that is the only tornado warning that we currently have in the WLKY viewing area. Jay?
Okay, Suzanne, thank you so very much. Now we go a little farther north into the metro. Let's show you what's going on. We have some locally heavy rainfall as you get up into portions of Clark County, up the I-71 corridor. This little area that's slicing right across Jefferson County, it's what we call an outflow boundary. To the south of that, it's still warm and moist. To the north, a little bit of rain-cooled air. And as this line of storms marches in from the west, it's possible it could interact with that little change in wind direction, and we could see some issues even around the metro. We're going to be watching for that over the next 30 minutes or so. So the line that's out here in sections of Harrison County on into western Meade County is also tracking very quickly eastbound. So if you're watching from Floyd County, eastern Harrison County, on into northwestern Bullitt County, western Jefferson County, near the Shively area, Valley Station, this line will impact you folks first here in the next 15 to 30 minutes, and then the rest of Jefferson County, the rest of the metro after that. So we're talking anywhere from probably 9:45 perhaps to maybe 10:30, something like that. That window right around the 10 o'clock hour, maybe a little bit after that, this line of storms will be cruising across the metro. We'll have to be on the lookout for scattered pockets of strong winds and some wind damage. And then you get into very powerful winds down here in Breckinridge County, Ohio County, everything pushing eastbound. Again, the tornado warned part of this cell is holding right here. It's now just off to the east of the Hardinsburg area. You can see that brighter shade of green right there next to a darker shade of green. That still implies cyclonic rotation and that possible tornado signature moving quickly off to the east. There you can see it much more clear. This is US Highway 60 slicing across central portions of Breckinridge County. It's very close to that right now. So if you're off to the east of Hardinsburg by just a short distance here, very close to the US Highway 60 corridor in eastern Breckinridge County, ground zero for a possible tornado spin up. It's very close to Garfield, moving towards perhaps Hensley, the Stinnettsville area, Graysville. Looks like it could come close to Woodrow as well. So if you're in and close to those communities, folks, you need to be in your basement right now. Please, no basement, lowest level of your house, interior room. You want to slow down or stop any debris that could be flying around outside. That's the whole point of being in the middle of your house. And you can see there is the signature. Got the inflow notch right there. You've got the outflow, the powerful outflow winds on the south side of that, and the little tornado spin up that's happening right there, moving quickly off to the east. So again, our storm tracker, Custer 932, High Plains 934. That'll take us off to the east from there. Four Corners, Flaherty, Perryville, 940 to around 945 or so. An additional tornado warning has just been issued to include Meade County, northern Hardin County, and western portions of Bullitt County. Now this includes Brandenburg. This includes very close to the Shepherdsville area. It's west of Interstate 65 in Bullitt County, but a brand new tornado warning has just been issued for this region, for this line segment, as we're expecting Again, the winds are so chaotic along this line as it moves off to the east that we're starting to see the potential for little rapid spin-ups along this line segment. Again, you can see one right there east of Hardinsburg. Okay, that's on U.S. Highway 60. Now, as we go farther off to the north, Suzanne, let's take me up here. You can see another one very close and just west of the Irvington area. There's another little cyclonic rotation showing up. Red, winds blowing towards the top portion of your TV set. Green, the opposite direction. All right, and then we got another one right here. This one's looking fairly mean right now, and this is here in Meade County, very close to Midway Road, just off to the east of Bucky's Road. Watch out for this storm. This is heading towards the Midway area and also could impact portions of Brandenburg, perhaps just south of Brandenburg here in relatively short order. Man, these things are really spinning up all of a sudden.
And certainly that has been something that we've not had many tornado warnings so far this evening, Jay, but now we're starting to see some of those warnings. Now, for this particular storm that was just issued, we want to be looking out in Brandenburg at 9:27, 9:28 for Ekron, Buck Grove at 9:32, right near West Point at about 9:44. So interesting to note, we have now started to add, in addition to those severe thunderstorm warnings that were right along this line, we're now starting to see some of that rotation firing up, some of those notches that are also starting to show up across this line. So prior to this, we were dealing with mainly winds. Now we're going to be talking about some of those rotating storms, and we are seeing some fairly decent rotation, some tight rotation in a few areas, perhaps indicating the possibility of a tornado. So we'll be watching this closely as we get you in a little bit closer. Let's go ahead and show you the very latest here. We'll take that scan off just to give you an idea of what's happening as we clear off some of those warnings. So you'll notice again, we just have those 2 tornado warnings at this time, including portions of northern Elizabethtown, northern Hardin County, moving into Bullitt County, through Meade County, as well as into portions of Breckenridge County. So this line is starting to rotate, and this was something that we were concerned about earlier when we were talking about this potent line of storms, that we would likely see some rotation firing up right along that line.
All right, Suzanne, thanks so very much. So again, here's the metro and areas just west-southwest under the gun for the potential for high winds that could be in excess of 60, even 70 miles an hour, scattered locations along the leading edge of that thunderstorm zone. And again, we're looking at some quick rotation that's spinning up very, very rapidly along this line, and could put down a tornado at a very short moment's notice. So we need you to be in your tornado shelter area and stay there until the danger is past. Now, where you see the red showing up, the dark red, west of Brandenburg, west of Ekron, just off to the west-northwest of Custer, that's where the rotation is strongest. The sudden turning of the winds becomes a little bit more intense, and that's where you could get quick tornado spin-ups as everything is pushing off to the east. You can see how the tornado warning that was in effect for Breckenridge County has now been extended farther off to the east on into portions of Hardin County as well. So there is one tornadic circulation very close to Graysville, Stinnettsville, and just off to the west of Custer, moving rapidly off to the east. So anybody here that resides in eastern portions, east central portions of Breckenridge County, please be in your tornado warning shelter areas. This is quickly racing eastbound at 40 to 50 miles per hour. And this will carry it into Hardin County, central and northern Hardin County, where we could see additional spin-ups as well. Suzanne is placing on the storm tracker for us for this little spin up that has been on the radar scan now for at least 10 to 15 minutes. So no doubt this thing is producing some wind damage in spots. Custer 933, High Plains 935, Big Spring 939. The Four Corners area around 945. Same with Perryville, Flaherty, and Vine Grove in northern portions of Hardin County, about 950, 951. So that's that little tornado segment that's going to carry it off to the east. And by the way, if you're watching from E-Town, This warning does include you from E-Town up to near Vine Grove and Radcliffe. Then we go a little farther off to the north and look at how chaotic this wind field is. I mean, you have very strong winds blowing towards the right portion of your TV set next to a wind field that's much, much lighter. So that strong wind shear in itself can actually spin up a quick-hitting tornado. So that's why these tornado warnings have been issued. These are not large, what we call supercellular tornadoes. These are formed on the leading edge of a strong thunderstorm line segment. And this is how the atmosphere is set up on this Sunday night. Here's the metro now. The tornado warnings to the south of the metro, but not by much. If you're watching from Shepherdsville to Brandenburg, far southern portions of Harrison County now as well. Laconia, New Boston, okay, in southern Harrison County. You're under the warning. I want you to get to your place of safety and stay there. Certainly Brandenburg, and then you get into western portions of Bullitt County. Let's call it the Stites area, Bardstown Junction, Belmont, Lebanon Junction, very close to Shepherdsville. In areas off to the west of I-65 in Bullitt County, tornado warning. Stay there in your place of safety. Just this line segment that has really developed rapidly, tapping into some strong winds, which, by the way, are increasing. That's why I think we're starting to see an uptick in some of this severe weather that's forming. The stronger winds that we've been anticipating are getting into these thunderstorms, and we're starting to mix that wind down to the ground now.
And I think it's important to note that we've now had a severe thunderstorm warning issued for the top half of that line. They've decided to go with the severe thunderstorm warning. That does include the Louisville Metro, so that's going to include areas Valley Station, Fern Creek, Jeffersontown, Glen Mary, into Shively as well. So when we take a look at kind of the big picture here, and I know I put a ton of towns on there, so let me go ahead and take some of these towns off so it's a little bit clear, just to give you kind of a perspective of what exactly is happening right now. So we have a line of severe storms moving through. They're pushing off to the east anywhere from 40 to 50 miles per hour. Along that line, we are seeing severe thunderstorm warnings. We're also seeing tornado warnings. We are seeing pretty decent rotation showing up along the southern portion of this line. That's what Jay was looking at. If you were joining us for some of those cut-ins earlier, he was concerned about the southern portion of this line, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. So, Jay, if you want to hop back in the key, we'll go ahead and track some of these storms, let people know exactly where they are headed in the next couple of minutes.
Okay, sounds good. So we have the severe thunderstorm warning that now includes portions of Louisville in the metro area. Then we have the tornado warnings the farther south you go, not by much though. Portions of Meade County, Bullitt County, and areas to the south of there. Now, the storms that are marching across portions of Harrison County into Floyd County, these storms are going to be impacting the metro in relatively short order, probably within the next 15 to 30 minutes. As they come on through places like Elizabeth, Buchanan, Valley Station, Shively, Churchill Downs, the International Airport, Minor Lane Heights, and everybody around these areas, we're going to see the potential for some pretty high winds moving across the metro, all right? And this is going to happen within the next 30 to 60 minutes or so. Farther off to the south, we have a wind field that's a little bit more chaotic. We have a wind field where there's a little bit more twisting and turning going on along this line segment. So quick hitting tornado spin-ups are certainly possible. And boy, it looks like we've got one very close to the Brandenburg area, just off to the south of the city of Brandenburg. There's Brandenburg Station. You go a little bit farther south of there, and that's a nasty-looking rotational signature right now, what we call a velocity couplet, moving off to the east quickly. So if you're in the path of this cell, communities like Muldrow, West Point, Shepherdsville, and Belmont, if it holds together, we're talking from now until about 10 o'clock tonight, next 30 minutes or so, some of these higher winds, damaging winds, maybe even weak tornado spin-ups, they could be moving in your direction. So please, anybody here in eastern sections of Meade County, northern Hardin County, on into Bullitt County, be on the lookout for that little tornado spin-up, that potential spin-up. Then you go farther off to the south here in eastern portions of Breckinridge County. This is getting ready to move into places like High Plains Corner, ready to move into western and northwestern Hardin County. That is still an ugly looking cell right now, a signature that does imply some tight rotation, and there could be quick hitting tornado spin-ups there as well, in addition to what could be a wind field, straight line wind field of 60 to 70 miles an hour. So Big Spring, Four Corners, Perryville, Vine Grove, Rhineyville, that is, I apologize, and Colesburg from now until about 10 o'clock or so. Eric, you getting some reports over there?
A mesonet in Meade County got a 67-mile-an-hour wind gust.
Okay, so there you go. We're upwards of 70 miles an hour right now. Winds that are certainly capable of bringing down trees and power lines and maybe even some structural damage as well. So, folks, be on the lookout. We got a line of very powerful storms stretched out from western portions of Clark County in southern Indiana through northwestern Floyd County on into much of Harrison County, and especially off to the south of there on into Breckinridge County, Hardin County, and western portions of Grayson County. It's this line that has the potential for wind damage. That potential is running very, very high right now, that threat is. And little spin-ups are certainly highly probable right now along this line segment, and that's why we have the tornado warnings in effect for areas south of town. But even here in Louisville, with a severe thunderstorm warning in effect, be on the lookout for high winds.
Yeah, and we'll certainly be on the lookout for those, Jay, as we go ahead and kind of sample the atmosphere here for you, give you an idea of some of these storms as they're going to continue to move through. As Eric mentioned, we did have reports of a wind gust, the upwards of 60 miles per hour into portions of Meade County. And at least on the radar, we are pinging some of those stronger wind gusts as well. So we'll have to, of course, see if those can come down to the ground. But the bottom line is this is a line of strong to severe storms as it continues to move through. You will certainly notice it packing a punch across your local area. So certainly we're watching for those warnings to continue for the southern sections of the metro. So this is going to be moving into Valley Station, PRP in the next couple of minutes, crossing over the Ohio. Now keep in mind that's not a tornado warning. That doesn't mean that you can't have damaging winds with that particular line though. So we have that line there. Then a little farther down to the south for our friends that are in northern Hardin County. If you are into portions of Bullitt County, you need to be in your place of safety right now. You are under a tornado warning. I realize that in Bullitt County, it is not even raining in your area. But the bottom line is this storm is bearing down on you. So this is when you have time to get ready. You should be in your place of safety if you are in areas of Breckinridge County and also into the Elizabethtown area into Hardin County. So again, this is when you are in your place of safety right now. You have time if you're in Elizabethtown, Vine Grove, and Radcliffe. But we are looking at the potential, if nothing else, of some very strong winds associated with this line of storms as it continues to march through the viewing area.
Okay, Suzanne, thanks so very much. What I'd like to do is just kind of reset here. We're going to kind of pull out, take a look at all of the viewing area, see what's going on, take a look at some of our various traffic cams, and we're going to start out by looking at the watch. Now, we have the tornado watch that continues until 1 o'clock in the morning for portions of southern Indiana as well as the Commonwealth across much of our viewing area. But I will say this, as you go west of this darker shade of red, if you will, you're pretty much done. So in other words, if you're in Perry County, Crawford County, Orange County, northwestern one half of Washington County, and north of there, you're done with any and all severe weather threat, okay? In Kentucky, that would be pretty much west of Brandenburg. You get farther into western Meade County, west and northwestern Breckinridge County, you're done. You're done with the severe threat for the night. Along this line segment and points off to the east, the threat is still running very high for at least damaging straight line wind gusts on a scattered basis and even brief tornado spin-ups. And that's what we've been looking at as this entire line segment rapidly races off to the east. So it's now starting to push into the metro. Portions of the metro, no question, will likely see some pretty high winds, very heavy rainfall here in relatively short order. Some of the various traffic cams. Suzanne, what are we looking at here?
I was just going to take a look. So this is the upper deck of the Sherman-Minton Bridge, and we were seeing some lightning off into the distance. Not really clear from that perspective there. Let's go ahead and take you a quick look here. This is our downtown camera. We've got a couple of other downtown cameras, and you can see in the metro we are doing just fine right now. That being said, we do currently have a warning, a severe thunderstorm warning for the southern sections of the WLKY viewing area in the metro. So that will include areas of Shively, PRP, into areas of Fairdale, Minor Lane Heights. For our friends in Okolona, Fern Creek, Glen Mary, you need to be on guard for the potential of some gusty winds headed your way. Farther down to the south, this is where we have been seeing some of the leading edge of those storms starting to rotate. Notice the notchy nature of some of those storms right there. When you see them kind of sticking in or pulling out a little bit, that's when you sometimes have an indication of some of that rotation.
Yeah, exactly right, Suzanne. And that is immediately off to the west of E-Town right now. So it's that little notch Suzanne was talking about here in west and northwestern Hardin County. This has been alive and well, if you will, ever since it was west of Hardinsburg. And this thing is flying eastbound. So you just kind of draw a straight line from west of Hardinsburg on into northwestern Hardin County where it is right now, and just kind of extend that out. Boy, that could come very close to the E-Town area. So that's why you folks in E-Town underneath the tornado warning, as is really the northern 1/2 or so of Hardin County. So there's the broad picture. We have the severe thunderstorm warning from the Watterson Expressway and points south in southern Jefferson County, the southern 1/2, for the potential for some high winds. We take the severe thunderstorm warnings away, we're left with the tornado warnings, okay? Tornado warning in effect for Hardin County. The one here in Breckenridge County, we're going to take that off the map because the tornado circulations are now east of you, okay? So if you're watching from Hardinsburg, I think you can come out of your basement. You are safe. If you're watching from places like Radcliffe, Vine Grove, the rest of northern Hardin County, on into western portions of Bullitt County, be in that tornado warning shelter area from now until the storms have passed on through. And this line segment, man, it is flying speeds of 50, maybe even 55 miles an hour. Outside of a tornado threat, an isolated spin up along the line, the potential for straight line winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour is running pretty high. So we're tracking this line as it marches eastbound. It's in the Muldrow area now. Will soon impact places like West Point, Perryville, Howe Valley, Vine Grove, Radcliffe, and Rineyville here within the next 10 to 20 minutes or so. And it will continue farther off to the east, getting into Shepherdsville and the E-Town area, Lebanon Junction, for example, here over the next 30 minutes. So still a couple of tornado warnings. We continue to track the potential for little tornado spin-ups. Hail. Yeah, the hail threat is coming down. There could be a little bit of pea-sized hail, maybe marble-sized hail here in southeastern sections of Harrison County. Might be clipping southwest Jefferson County near Valley Station, PRP, the Jefferson County Memorial Forest, places like that. So that's a possibility. We'll be on the lookout for that. Speaking of any reports that might be coming in, Eric, anything that you've...
No official reports, but like you were mentioning, they are canceling the tornado warnings that were in Meade and Breckenridge, and they're going to be like shaving off some of those, more or less the line east is what they're thinking. So the one back towards Hardinsburg, they got rid of that. And the one out toward Brandenburg, that too is on the western side of the main lines. And there you can see they're starting to update some of the warnings that we have. So it's more or less from the line heading east is what they're still tracking.
Okay, Eric, thank you. Suzanne, what were we looking at here?
So this is the look at 264 at Cane Run Road, and you can see as you look off into the distance some of the lightning strikes. So obviously this is going to be an area that is going to feel the impact of that storm. Now, just a few moments ago, Jay, we were showing you this shot here, and it looked not too bad. Right now, this is what it looks like on the upper deck of the Sherman-Minton Bridge. So this is on 64 as you're going from Kentucky over into southern Indiana, and you can see that rain is coming down in buckets, in sheets, vivid lightning as well, some gusty winds, certainly. Now, what's interesting is this is on the northern portion, so this is actually not included in the warning, but just to give you some perspective of what it looks like and actually how quickly things can change as that line of storms continues to bear down on the metro at this point. This is what it looks like as you're coming off the Sherman-Minton Bridge. On the left-hand side of your screen, that's 64 as you're traveling eastbound. On the right-hand side of your screen, that's the traffic that is currently heading westbound. And you can see nearly constant lightning showing up here with a live look from our cameras that we have here.
Okay, Suzanne, thank you so very much. So there you go. Powerful storms moving into the metro and points off to the south, along and just west of Interstate 65. And they won't be around all that long. I mean, this line of powerful wind is going to march across any one location, probably for just 10, maybe 15 minutes, and the threat will pretty much be done. Yes, the rain will last longer than that, but the severe weather aspect of this line won't last all that long at any one location. Okay, there are your tornado warnings for sections of northern Hardin County down to near E-Town. And then we also have western portions of Bullitt County underneath a tornado warning for the next several minutes. So anywhere from 65 in Bullitt County and also Hardin County, and points off to the west, especially the northern one half of Hardin County. Tornado warning in effect. Storms are marching eastbound very, very quickly at speeds of 50 miles an hour. And we continue to track when these storms will impact any one location. So Radcliffe about 9:47, the Belmont area closer to the top of the hour. Same thing with Lebanon Junction, and a little bit after 10 o'clock Eastern time for Claremont, as well as the Boston area as it rapidly races east of I-65 here within the next 15 to 30 minutes. Suzanne, a little farther north now.
Yeah, they just put a tornado warning on that into southern Jefferson County and northern Bullitt.
There you go.
Where that severe thunderstorm warning is now, they got a tornado warning that has just popped up on the north side. You can see there.
Okay, so we're talking the Jefferson County Memorial Forest, immediately south of Valley Station, south of the Gene Snyder, where we could have tornado spin-ups, quick-hitting tornado spin-ups. So far southern Jefferson County down to Hillview, and also back to Medora. There's Meadow Lawn. Here's the Valley Station area. It's south of Valley Station, but this tornado warning does catch far southern portions of Jefferson County and northern Bullitt County over to near Mount Washington here for the next several minutes.
Yeah, so now, of course, we still have that severe thunderstorm warning as well, but for that southern portion of that storm, that's where they've decided to go ahead and go with that tornado warning, showing some rotation in that particular storm there, Jay. So certainly something that bears close watching. So if you are in areas of Meadow Lawn, right near areas of Pioneer Village, Hunters Hollow, Hillview, we want you to be in your place of safety.
You know, and real quick, Fairdale.
Yeah, it's a little bit north of the warning. It's
sure
actually
is.
where it actually is. This is right near Bear Camp Road. So, guys, you're not under the tornado warning in this area, but this is where we're seeing actually the most significant rotation. So this is right to the south, as Jay was mentioning, south of the Snyder. So right near areas you can see of Bear Camp Road. That's going to be heading into Jefferson Hill Road in the next couple of minutes. You're actually not under that tornado warning, but this is where I think we're seeing the most significant rotation.
Yeah, Suzanne, is that base or is that storm relative?
So that's storm relative.
Let's go to base. Watch what happens here.
Okay.
So there you have that bright little area of red. These are winds that are blowing rapidly off towards the right portion of your TV set. And immediately north of there, very close to 841, the Gene Snyder, for example, that's where we're picking up some pretty strong rotation. And this is just off to the north of the tornado warning. So I want to say really anywhere from the Gene Snyder and points off to the south, we got to be on the lookout for a quick hitting tornado spin up. This would include you folks in Fairdale, maybe even Minor Lane Heights, and then working over towards the east, south of Fern Creek, closer to Glen Mary, and especially south of there where you do see that polygon flashing on your TV set, far southern Jefferson County, northern Bullitt County, okay? Tornado warning in effect. So if you're in this zone or close to this zone, get to that tornado warning shelter area right now, please, and stay there until the danger has passed, and it will. It's going to race through very quickly. Farther south, Suzanne, what's our wind field looking like a little farther south
down
here?
south. Okay, let me get that for you real quick.
So as we go farther south into Bullitt County, okay, right there, near Radcliffe.
Okay.
What do we got? Yep,
So
right
that's
there.
our base velocity right there, and you can see that rotation pretty clearly showing up there, right?
So this, too, could be a quick-hitting tornado spin-up. It just moved east of 31W, is immediately east of Radcliffe, and racing quickly off towards the east at speeds of around 50, 60 miles an hour. Suzanne, let's track that guy as it moves quickly eastbound at, 50 miles per hour. So that looks like that's got a pretty high potential to produce a quick-hitting tornado spin-up.
Yeah, that would be near Lebanon Junction about 10:03, Belmont at about 10:04, and right near Samuels at about 10:16. I do want to caution you, if you are anywhere in this line of storms, go ahead and head to your place of safety,
that's
because
a good idea.
we have had reports of 67-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Meade County, so that's an indication of just how strong these storms are. So we have a number of tornado warnings that have been issued all the way basically along 65, and in the metro we have that tornado warning, but we were seeing rotation actually a little bit north of where the actual tornado warning was. So that's why we just want you to be careful if you're even in that severe thunderstorm warning. I think I'm going to try to pull up a couple of our cameras. Eric, I don't know if you want to pull over some portions, or if I can, I don't know if you want me to just show you some of the cameras, Jay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll pull up some of our Trimark cameras for you and show you what's going on to give you kind of some ground truth as those storms are moving through, what exactly it looks like. This is 65 right near Arthur Street. It is an absolute deluge here. Quick look here of the pouring rain at 264 right at Cane Run Road. Some of our cameras that we have into the downtown area, it's even difficult to see because it is raining so heavily at this time. What I'd like to do is try to get us a camera that's a little bit closer over to Lebanon Junction area, so right along 65, we can pull up some of our cameras here, right along the Bluegrass Parkway, areas of the Western Kentucky Parkway, and it is just storming like mad here. Eric, you wanted to mention something?
Yeah, so like we were mentioning how that looked like there was rotation above the tornado warning. Well, they've now issued a new tornado warning, including that area, getting you basically all the way up to the Watterson and then heading out towards J-Town, Glenmire, and that area for that possible cell that we saw just north of the initial one.
Okay, Eric, thank you. And you can see there's the brand new tornado warning. We were concerned about this, and in fact, there it is, running from the Watterson Expressway and points off to the south. Tornado warning in effect now for the southern one half of Jefferson County. So really, anywhere here in southern Jefferson County, let's call it from, Suzanne, take me a little farther north if you will.
Actually, that's Eric. We can switch over to Links 1 if you want, and we can talk.
Let's do that. Now let's go into Jefferson County. Okay, let's zoom in tight. There we go. Okay, so basically Shively to Audubon Park, over to J-Town and point south. All right, south of that line, so to speak. Tornado warning in effect, and you can see the curvy nature, the chaotic appearance of the leading edge of the heavier rain. That's because we've got these strong winds that are twisting and turning, and whenever that twist and turn tightens up, you can get a quick hitting tornado spin up. And that's what we're looking at here right now. So looks like there could be something very, very close right now to the Gene Snyder, very close to Fairdale, for example. And this is racing quickly off to the east. And the farther north you get into extremely strong winds also in places like the airport, close to the airport, the fairgrounds, and even up through downtown. Boy, it's raining very heavily here at the station right now. We can hear it. But this powerful line moving eastbound. And
we'll probably be able to get a pretty good indication of the speeds of some of those winds as they are, of course, going to be moving across areas of their so we'll have that move through, and we should be able to get good indications of exactly the wind speed. But bottom line, Jay, we are looking at a really healthy line of storms that's continuing to move through the metro, really packing a punch. It is pouring rain. It is ponding on some of our roads really pretty excessively, and shaking some of our cameras. I just want to show you some of our cameras here, Jay. They are moving so quickly with those strong winds that are continuing to kind of barrel through the region. And you can see this is a look at 65 here. The camera is just shaking here with those strong winds that are continuing to pass through. And that's in the metro here that we're seeing that.
Now, we are getting reports from the Cluster Fire Department in far eastern Breckenridge County of roof damage, numerous power lines, and even US 60 is shut down due to the damage over the roadways. So that's where those tornado warnings started. So it's looking like we're starting to get some damage from those possible cells as they move through the area. Okay, Eric, thank you. All right, so let's reset here, gang, because we have a number of tornado warnings now in effect from the metro and points off to the south. Along this line, little tornado spin-ups are possible in addition to more large-scale damaging straight-line winds. And the threat for little tornado spin-ups running from basically the Watterson Expressway and point south into southern Jefferson County, J-Town, Fern Creek, Okolona, the airport over towards Minor Lane Heights. And what's really sticking out to me right now is that little cell right there. It looks like we could have
a possible tornado that could be on the ground or forming here in southern Jefferson County. Here's Fairdale right there. This is I-65 southbound, and there is that potential tornado. It's right there, moving its way off to the east. So it's running along and just south, parallel to the Gene Snyder in southern Jefferson County, and will continue to push off to the east. So if you're anywhere from Minor Lane Heights south on into extreme northern Bullitt County, over to near Mount Washington, over on into close to the Fern Creek area, for example, please be in your basement right now. A mean-looking cell, a cell that's certainly capable of producing a tornado and damage. The damage potential, Suzanne, is running pretty high right now in southern Jefferson County.
Yeah, most definitely with those winds being reported at upwards of about 60 miles per hour. Eric, were we able to get a report out of SDF as that storm was kind of moving through? Have we gotten a report there? We've got some friends in Bullitt County that are saying the wind is starting to really howl there. They can hear some of the tornado sirens going off. Yeah. And you can see this storm as it continues to move through at speeds of about 50 miles per hour. This is heading into Glen Mary, Elk Creek, Olive Branch. You want to be in your place of safety. You can see that pretty significant notch. It is just screaming out at you, Jay, with that storm right there.
Yeah, now this is immediately east of Fairdale, okay? And this is I-65. There's Minor Lane Heights. So we take it a little farther east. Notice it is tracking along and just south of the Gene Snyder right now in southern Jefferson County. This is rapidly heading towards you folks in Glen Mary and just south of the Glen Mary area. So really anywhere from Smyrna, Highview over towards Fern Creek, Glen Mary, on into southern portions, southeastern portions of Jefferson County. That little area, I want you guys in your basement right now. Stay there until the danger is past. Threat for a quick tornado spin-up is running very high right now in southern Jefferson County. The storm track showing Spring Mill, Highview, Glen Mary, Fern Creek Sportsman's Club right around there. Elk Creek and Simpsonville could be in the path of this storm. Now, Simpsonville, way up here in western portions of Shelby County, I believe that that tornado right there is going to pass south of you. So really, it's this area right here of southeastern Jefferson County that we really have to be on the lookout for a tornado spin-up. Now, farther off to the north, Suzanne, take me farther north. So up here in the Prospect area, Green Spring, the Glen Oaks area, over towards the Ford truck plant, the Worthington region. Yeah, we have some powerful winds blowing through, don't get me wrong, but right now the tornado threat is farther south. It's in southern Jefferson County, really about the southern one half of Jefferson County, and it's running very high right now along and south of the Gene Snyder. Okay, that's the metro. Suzanne, let's go farther south now on into Bullitt County. See what we have here. All right, near Beech Grove, that looks fairly ugly right there. This little zone, that little kink, if you will. Yep, there you go. There's a little velocity couplet showing up, high winds. Really anywhere where you see, folks, these brighter shades of red, little bit of pale yellow in there, where they are showing up next to a darker area of red, that implies cyclonic rotation. You can get little tornado spin-ups, and that's why the National Weather Service has gone kind of a blanket approach to these tornado warnings from the metro and points south, because really anywhere along this line, there's a chance for a tornado spin-up in isolated locations anyway, in addition to straight line winds that could easily be in excess of 70 miles an hour.
It's got a 64-mile-an-hour wind.
Okay, there you go.
And so that, of course, just lends credence to exactly what's happening, why there are so many warnings out here with those strong winds that are showing up right along that line. So again, we do have that tornado warning that does include areas of Fern Creek, Glen Mary, Jeffersontown. This is heading into Fisherville. It's the southern part right there, though, right along Preston Highway, that we are going to be watching for that storm. So we'll get in a little bit closer here. So that's the part of the storm that Jay is watching. So Preston Highway, the Gene Snyder, right in that spot there. That's going to be pushing over into areas of Pennsylvania Run Road in the next couple of minutes, over near Thixton, Glen Mary, so right along Bardstown Road into the Fern Creek area. So we're going to be watching this. If you are in this area, you want to go ahead and head to your place of safety. It's time to go to the basement. So again, you could have stronger winds a little bit north of this, so we don't want to discount that. But the bottom line is where we're seeing the best rotation is a little bit south of that. So just keep that in mind. It's right in that location there, right along Cedar Creek Road, Jay, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and this is very close to and just south of the Gene Snyder in south central and southeastern portions of Jefferson County. We still have a velocity couplet showing up on the radar scan, something that tells us, yes, there could be a quick hitting tornado spin up. And you can see another one that's trying to form. This is the Gene Snyder right here in between Fern Creek and Glen Mary. At the very minimum, some very high, powerful winds are blowing through that portion of the county. Suzanne, where are we looking right there?
You know, I wanted to show you, Jay, because you were tracking that storm right along the Gene Snyder and Bardstown Road. So what I wanted to do was actually show you what's happening at the Gene Snyder and Bardstown Road. So this is our Trimark camera right here, and this is before it's moving into your area. So you will likely see some of the lightning. Obviously, it's in the metro right now with that heavy rainfall. That's 65 at Arthur Street. But what we're looking at right here is the Gene Snyder and Bardstown Road. So we're starting to watch that storm move into this area right now. So this gives you an indication of exactly what's happening in real time.
Okay, Eric, damage reports? Any reports coming in?
In Meade County, the EMA, or Emergency Management, did rescue a person that was staying in a camper that got overturned, and that's where a tornado warning was also issued. So definitely looks like there was some rotation and maybe some very strong winds with that.
And look at that camera right there. I mean, powerful winds, blinding rainfall. Suzanne, exactly where is this?
So this is, again, this is right at the Gene Snyder and Bardstown Road where we were tracking that storm. So this gives you that ground truth of that torrential rainfall that is moving through this area. And you can see, if you look at the roadway, look at the water being blown across the road. That is an indication of some very strong winds. Boy, I feel terrible for those people who are driving in this right now because the rain is driving down here. So again, this is right along where we were tracking that potential tornadic storm there, and you can see that rain is covering the roadway in short order here.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric?
So the forecasters at Louisville actually took shelter for about 10 minutes and have now just got back to their station. So that's why we haven't really seen any updates from them of recently, but they're getting back to their stations. You can see they're starting to trim some of the tornado warnings that are ongoing, and we'll be shifting them off to the east now that they're back up and running.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's kind of pull out. Let's kind of reset here. Let's take a look at areas immediately north of the metro. Don't want to forget about anybody in Oldham County or Clark County on up into Trimble County. We have heavy rainfall. We have some strong winds in your area, including Green Spring, the Barber Mead area, Prospect, over towards Crestwood, up I-71, and winds that are upwards of 50, maybe even 60 miles an hour in a few spots. But the bigger threat for tornadic weather right now and winds that could be in excess of 70, 75 miles an hour here in southeastern Jefferson County down into portions of Bullitt County, very close to J-Town, Fern Creek, the Glen Mary area, especially running very close to the Gene Snyder as we've been showing you on some of our live traffic cams. Here's Mount Washington. This is north and northeastern Bullitt County over towards Pioneer Village. Extremely heavy rainfall. Suzanne, that still looks a little ominous right there. That little notch right there we're going to have to watch for. Okay, it's now a little bit farther off to the east on the wind field, but these things are just moving so quickly off to the east.
And that's hard to track because they are moving so quickly right there with wind speeds of about 50 to 60 miles per hour. And you can see right near Cedar Grove, we're also sampling some of those stronger wind gusts as well. So Cedar Grove, 50 mile per hour wind gusts. They're heading towards Lotus, 59 mile per hour wind gust potentially. Lebanon Junction, about a 51 mile per hour wind gust right there as well. So we'll be watching some very powerful storms. We also have, again, some rotation. Now, Jay, as you know, sometimes really strong storms, they rotate as well, but we're going to be watching for the potential of some of that tornadic activity. As we've been talking about really for the past couple of days, we were warning people about the potential to see some of those really strong storms.
Yeah, and now here, east of I-65 in eastern Bullitt County, you look real close, Suzanne was she was pinging some of the higher wind speeds where you see these brighter shades of pink. Any one of these little areas here could produce a quick hitting tornado spin up because there's so much shear. There's very powerful winds next to an area that's not so strong. That in itself can actually turn into a quick-hitting tornado spin-up with the type of atmosphere we have over us on this Sunday night. And this is our rotation detector. It doesn't mean that we have tornadoes all over the place, but where you see some of these brighter shades of green and even maybe a little bit of red in the middle, it just means that we've got a very sudden change in wind direction and wind speed that could cause some wind damage, straight line wind damage, and maybe a tornado spin up. And that's why we have the tornado warnings in effect. Still, mainly eastern Bullitt County. I think as you move west of the interstate here, the tornado threat has really dropped off. It is now eastern Bullitt County over into Nelson County, the Bardstown area, and points off to the north. So this would be places like Samuels, Nazareth, Deatsville, Cox's Creek, as well as Fairfield, getting close to Bloomfield as well. If I mentioned your community or you are in this polygon that is flashing, that's the tornado warned zone. You need to be in your place of safety and stay there, please, until the danger has passed.
And new tornado warning now issued for portions of Shelby County and Bullitt County. So I suspect what's going to happen is they're just going to extend that. With so much rotation being exhibited in these storms at this point, it's probably just a safe bet that they want to continue to extend these tornado warnings, because these storms have been packing a punch with some of those winds upwards of 60 miles per hour. And so we've got some ground truth. And I know Eric was talking about some of the damage that has also been reported.
Yeah, we've had that damage. We haven't had any new reports of any more damage, but I'm sure there's going to be some coming out as we continue to track these very strong wind gusts and possibly some rotations as we go off to the east now. But so the new tornado warning that was just issued out towards Spencer and Shelby, that goes until 10:30. So we got about another 25 minutes on that. The other ones that have been up go for just another 10 minutes until 10:15. So shows you how fast these storms are racing off to the east, with plenty of lightning there that we just saw on the camera. But it does look like it is quickly racing now off to the east and working its way towards 64 out towards the Frankfort area is what we're looking at next.
Suzanne, where are we looking here? What camera is it?
Yeah, so this is the Gene Snyder right at Taylorsville Road, and this is in far eastern Jefferson County. So it's really almost difficult to see here because it looks like the wind is blowing so hard. It's blowing some of that water across the screen here. So again, just an indication. This is a very electric storm as well, moving through the WLKY viewing area here at this time. So certainly we're continuing to monitor for a number of tornado warnings at this time. So if you're just joining us, maybe your phone has gone off, and here's why: because we've now added and extended those tornado warnings. So including sections of Nelson County, including sections of Shelby County here. So we're going to be watching that moving into portions of Spencer County as well. Anywhere along that line, Jay, you have been showing us some of that rotation that has been showing up here.
Yeah, these little velocity couplets are just that. They are tiny. They're small, but they are quick hitting. And when they develop, they can produce that quick hitting tornado. We've seen a number of them over the past hour develop all the way back into Breckinridge County and Meade County, while they continue to push off to the east. And now the threat for isolated spin-ups and straight line wind damage is running extremely high in far eastern Jefferson County, far southern portions, about the southern one half of Shelby County, Spencer County. So watching from places like Elk Creek, Little Mount, Taylorsville, the Taylorsville Lake area over towards Waterfield and Wakefield. You're underneath the tornado warning. I need you to be in your place of safety, please. And then down into northern portions of Nelson County, from about Bardstown and points northward on through eastern portions of Bullitt County. Tornado warning in effect. Farther off to the south, E-Town on into LaRue County, the remainder of Nelson County, south of Bardstown, southern Nelson County. Severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. So you know what? Here's the deal. The potential for wind damage is running pretty high right now, anywhere along this line, stretched out from Shelby County, eastern Jefferson County, and points off towards the south, down into the LaRue County area, especially western LaRue County. And you can see these little brighter spots of pink showing up. That's where there could also be quick-hitting tornado spin-ups. At one point in time, I was counting 3 to 4 of them showing up on the line. Now it looks like that's come down a little bit, but boy, they're quick hitting and can do exactly that in a very short period of time.
Yeah, and I want to show you, just to give you a little bit of ground truth here. So this is what it looks like at 64, right at the Jefferson County, Shelby County line, where we are seeing lightning nearly constantly firing up here. So again, that's right at that Jefferson County, Shelby County line. You can see that camera moving around a little bit. So this is under that tornado warning as well, over into Shelby County at this point. So if nothing else, certainly a light show here, but also very strong winds associated with that storm. And we did have some reports earlier tonight of some hail. We saw some of that hail from southern Indiana. And of course, we're going to continue to monitor for a number of warnings that we still have out there. Just kind of a look around the region to show you it is absolutely pouring right along Interstate 65 and the Bluegrass Parkway. You can see 65 into the metro. It is pouring here. So very strong winds, lots of lightning out there. And we're going to be watching for very dangerous conditions out there. We still have a number of warnings. Now, of course, Jay, as you mentioned, the southern flank of that storm, they've decided to change that over to a severe thunderstorm warning. It doesn't matter. Still, strong winds are possible. It can still be a damaging wind gust in your area. So the bottom line is we want you to be careful. In the metro, in Fern Creek, Glen Mary, just outside of Jeffersontown, that's where we still have that tornado warning at this time. Obviously, a very densely populated area, so I suspect we'll probably get some reports from this area in relatively short order. So hopefully, Eric will have some more on that. But bottom line, we're looking at some decent winds out there. Some of those stronger wind gusts right along the leading edge, it looks like, Jay, of that storm.
Yeah, in Bardstown, for example, those winds are going to start howling here very, very quickly. And there's even a possibility of a quick-hitting tornado spin-up. That is looking suspect to me right there in western portions of Nelson County. So it's very close to Bourbon Springs and the Cravens area. There's Bellwood. But that zone right there, because it also had a little bit of a notch in the reflectivity field. We're going to have to watch that closely as it races off to the east. You can see the velocity couplet right there, immediately north of U.S. Highway 62. And that, if it holds together, is going to pass close to Bardstown or just north of there. All right? We go farther off to the north. Yeah, we just have the potential for very high winds racing eastbound at speeds of around 50 miles an hour. Samuels, Cox's Creek, Bloomfield, the Chaplin area, all in the path of these higher winds. Not saying you're going to see a tornado in these locations, but certainly the potential for very high winds, 50, maybe 60 miles an hour in a few spots, does exist as the leading edge of that heavy rainfall moves across any one location. I do want to say this. Anywhere along the Waterston Expressway, down 65 in Jefferson County and points west, you're done with the severe weather threat, okay? It is along eastern Jefferson County now where you see the brighter areas of red and orange. That's where the wind field is the highest, and especially on the leading edge of this. So this is carrying it into far eastern Jefferson County, Eastwood, Fisherville, down to Whitfield, and especially east of there now where a tornado warning remains across the southern one half of Shelby County on into Spencer County. I think the warning here, guys, what's the wind field looking like in the Fern Creek, Glen Mary area, just south of J-Town right now? Can you zoom in a little tighter there for me, Suzanne,
yeah, sure,
please?
of course.
And yeah, I see nothing. I think that tornado warning
They're going to let they've
done.
already expired those. Okay. It just won't remove until 10:20.
All right, so that is gone. All right, the real tornado warnings now are for southern Shelby County, portions of Spencer County, and again now into Nelson County along the Bullitt-Nelson County line and points off to the east. I think you get back to near I-65 in Bullitt County, you're done with the tornado threat. It's on the leading edge of the higher wind field, which is, you know, co-located with that very heavy rainfall. Bardstown right now, that's ugly right now.
Yeah, and you were mentioning that, Jay, that you were really concerned about that one cell there, and obviously your eyes have not deceived you, because that's also where we are seeing the highest amount of rotation at this point.
Yeah, right in between Cravens and Bardstown on U.S. Highway 62, close to Bellwood, just east of there. See that zone right there, some rotating winds that could easily indicate a quick hitting tornado spin up. And man, that's looking ugly on the radar scan right now. So at the very minimum, some damaging winds passing into the Bardstown area. If you're in Bardstown, please just stay in that tornado warning shelter area until this storm has passed on through. And as Eric and Suzanne can attest to, these things are flying. I mean, they're moving, what, 50, 55 miles an hour now?
Yeah, 50 to 55 miles per hour. And, you know, we were hoping that the flash flooding risk would be relatively low with these storms, but they are efficient rain producers. Yeah. And you can see there is a lot of standing water on many of the roads here. So if you have to head out, we know some people have to drive late at night. We want you to be really careful because there's a lot of standing water out on some of the roadways. And we are seeing a ton of lightning showing up also from some of our cameras here. So that's, again, the Gene Snyder a little bit closer over to Bardstown Road. And you can see some of the standing water there and quite a bit of lightning. It's a real light show out there. And obviously torrential downpours as well, right along the Gene Snyder as we take you right near Bardstown Road, also right near Taylorsville Road. We were seeing some very heavy rainfall and quite a bit of lightning as well.
Okay, so the tornado threat has ended for the metro area. It's now east of Jefferson County. However, we still have the tornado threat, correct?
Yeah, and it looks like they just issued another storm that we were just talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so here's the very latest now. These are the latest warnings we have. You can see Jefferson County out of the woods. The severe weather threat is ending. It's still in far eastern Jefferson County, but will soon be out within the next couple of minutes. So we can say goodbye to severe weather for Louisville here after 5 minutes from now, if you will. East of here, southern Shelby County, Spencer County, closer to Taylorsville Lake and Taylorsville, and then north of there, we have the potential to see isolated quick-hitting spin-ups and wind damage. And then that rotation that was showing up on the radar scan close to Bardstown right now, that is an ugly-looking cell there.
Yeah, most definitely, Jay, and that's why the National Weather Service, of course, decided to go ahead with all of that shear that we were showing up, that rotation that was showing up, really had to issue a tornado warning with that one because look at those winds. Those winds are absolutely howling. So this is, guys, this is right in the heart of Bardstown here with winds of about 64 miles per hour showing up and perhaps some of that rotation as well.
So you got the very high winds that are blowing towards the right portion of your TV set. That's where you see the brighter shades of pink. And then immediately north of that, notice how dark the color gets. It's much lighter winds blowing in the same direction. But what it implies and what it tells us meteorologists is that there's definitely cyclonic rotation going on. It's in the Bardstown area. The threat for a quick-hitting tornado spin-up is running very high right now in Bardstown. And it's racing eastbound. So if you are east of the Bardstown area here in eastern portions and northern portions of Nelson County, please stay in that tornado warning shelter area until this thing has worked on through. That is a nasty looking, what we call velocity couplet on the radar scan. Certainly high potential for wind damage, whether it's straight line wind damage or caused by a quick hitting tornado spin up. The chance for that happening in Bardstown as we speak, and just east of Bardstown is running very, very high, very close to the Eastern Kentucky Parkway. And points off to the east from there.
Yeah, and it's moving at about
Bluegrass Parkway, I should say.
Moving at about 50 miles per hour. So we're going to be watching that storm as it continues to move through areas of East Bardstown the next couple of minutes. Right near Booker at about 1028, Maud at about 1028, Hardesty at about 1033. So certainly sampling wind speeds of the upwards of 64 miles per hour. And as you were pointing out, exhibiting some rotation with that particular storm. So this is where you want to be in your place of safety. If you're in Woodlawn, Maud, Booker, Hardesty, Willisburg, this is your time to head to the basement or an interior room because we are dealing with some feisty storms heading through portions of Nelson County at this point. So we were tracking that storm even before it had a warning on it, Jay, and unfortunately we have quite a bit of rotation showing up right into the heart of Bardstown. So that's going to take you into areas of East Bardstown, right along 62, right along portions of the Bluegrass Parkway as well. well.
Woodlawn to Maud, and then that'll carry it farther off to the east as you get closer to places like, Anderson County, maybe even northern Washington County as well. But yeah, so we still have some very dangerous weather ongoing to the southeast of the metro and to the east of the metro for that matter. Suzanne, if you have a chance here, let's pull out. Let's take a look at the viewing area as a whole. We're going to kind of reset now. Here it is a little after 10 o'clock, about 10:20 Eastern Daylight Time, and we continue to track this powerful line of storms, okay? If you're in the metro and you are points off to the west or north, you're done with the severe weather threat. It's raining, maybe a little bit of thunder and lightning, but the severe weather threat has ended for the downtown region for all of Jefferson County. Still running quite high, though, across portions of Shelby County, down into Spencer County, Nelson County, and even the farther southwest you go. Are these all the warnings? Do we have severe thunderstorm warnings a little bit farther off?
Yes, we do.
south?
Let me go ahead and paint those on. I was just trying to put on just the tornado warnings just so we had a better idea of where some of those warnings were.
Okay, so additional warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, down here in portions of eastern Hardin County, LaRue County, southern Nelson County, and a new one has been issued for Hart County, and that carries on into northern portions of Greene as well. So 65 in Hart County and just west of that zone, that's where we have a powerful storm that has formed, capable of producing some hail and some pretty strong winds. The twisting and the turning of the winds running very high right now on the Bluegrass Parkway, close to and now just east of Bardstown in east central portions of Nelson County. Still a dangerous looking storm, both on the velocity scan and also the reflectivity there, Suzanne.
The airport in Bardstown had a wind gust of 59.
59 in Bardstown, okay.
And that was actually pretty close to what we were sampling. So this is obviously really difficult to see because it is pitch black here, but this is right along the Bluegrass Parkway, right near Bardstown, and every once in a while you can see a flash of lightning with that, but obviously very difficult to see because it is so dark out there. But I was hoping we might be able to at least get some ground truth of what's going on into the Bardstown area, because that's right along the Bluegrass Parkway that we're seeing that right there. So we'll be watching these storms as they continue to move through. But Jay, as you were mentioning, right into the heart of Bardstown, and that's what Eric was telling us, that we did in fact see those really strong winds reaching the ground, because on the radar sometimes, you know, you can see something on the radar. That's why we talk about radar indicated winds, but that was certainly a situation where they were reaching the ground.
And look at the tornado warning that has been extended now to include the northern 2/3 of Washington County. So this is just north of Springfield, but it is for this rotation that is moving quickly off to the east at speeds of 40 to 50 miles an hour. It's now just off to the east of Bardstown, but still showing up plain as day to me anyway on the radar scan along the Bluegrass Parkway, U.S. Highway 62, that zone on the east side of Bardstown, where we have powerful winds, some twisting and turning of the winds, and there could be a quick hitting tornado spin up, and this is going to carry it off towards the east on into the northern sections of Washington County in Kentucky, perhaps into Anderson County as well. But there's the highest probability, if you will, for a potential tornado. It'd be where you see this little curvy S appearance. It's usually right there where you can see a quick hitting tornado spin up, and that is right on the Bluegrass Parkway.
Yeah, so Parkway Drive, East John Rowan Boulevard, right along Springfield Road. This is going to be near Stringtown Road, Old Bloomfield, right along areas you can see here of Summers Lane in the next couple of minutes, over near Croaks, a little bit closer over to, looks like right now, Summers Lane. If you live in that area, you want to head to your place of safety. This is right near Marks Lane, Woodlawn Road, into the Woodlawn area near looks like Valley Hill Road, likely in the next couple of minutes as well, right near Boatland as well, Botland.
Okay, Suzanne, let's go a little farther north to the northern tornado warning on into portions of Spencer County as well as Shelby County. And Yeah, on the leading edge, okay, it looks like near Little Mount, there could be a potential little spin up trying to occur there. We'll watch that closely. It's immediately north of Taylorsville Lake, but this is quickly racing off to the east as well. And other high winds from near I-64 across Shelby County and especially off to the south of there. Getting into southeastern Shelby County now, these things, again, rapidly racing eastbound and will soon be moving out of the viewing area, probably within the next hour or so. We may be done with this entire event. But along this line, in certain locations, yeah, the potential for wind damage is running quite high, and the threat for still some tornado spin-ups, especially east of Bardstown, heading into northern portions of Washington County, Kentucky. Be on the lookout. It's right there. That is a powerful-looking cell. East Bardstown, heading towards Woodlawn and pushing rapidly off to the east. So that's going to carry it towards places like Maud and Mooresville, maybe even Fredericktown and Mackville and the northern sections of Washington County. Nasty looking radar signature right there, certainly. If there's a tornado, it is very close to Woodlawn or East Bardstown in that zone of the Bluegrass Parkway and heading quickly eastbound.
I think it's fair to say, as you are seeing this line of storms come into your neighborhood, this is when we want to be on high alert for the potential of not only severe storms, but also some of those rotating storms, which potentially could produce a tornado. Part of the issue when we have this, and I know we talked about this earlier this week, it is difficult to get ground truth when it is dark out there because obviously it's more difficult to see things. Bottom line, we have now had damage reports in much of the WLKY viewing area, kind of in a scattered fashion. So this storm system means business as it continues to move through. And on the leading edge of it, that's where we have seen some of those really strong winds. We're talking about 60-mile-per-hour winds moving through on the leading edge of that line of storms. So the good news is, once it's out of here, it's out of here. And so you can sleep easily tonight. But the bottom line is we're still watching that line moving through. And right along it, tornado warnings are issued and severe thunderstorm warnings are issued.
I see two locations right now, Suzanne. Let's go to your velocity scan. Eric, you got the storm relative up on yours, or was that?
That's storm relative, yeah.
Okay, Suzanne, let's go to storm relative. It's showing up a little bit better.
Okay.
Okay, and I got two of them here. There's one close to, of course, the Bardstown area. We've been talking about that one forever. Now off to the east of there and pushing along the Nelson, Washington County line, all right? That is pushing into northern portions of Washington County. There was another one very close to the Little Mount area.
Right there?
Yes, that one right there. We've got some twisting and turning going on. The Mount Eden vicinity, this is southeastern portions here of Shelby County. This is Spencer County, so right on the county line, at least the potential for a quick-hitting tornado spin-up is there. And this is going to be pushing out of the viewing area in relatively short order. At the minimum, straight-line wind damage is running pretty high as we're pinging winds that could be 50, 60, 70, maybe isolated 80 miles an hour as we're tapping some of those stronger jet stream winds aloft and now bringing them down to the ground. So having said that, Suzanne, you were talking about we're getting damage reports. Eric, what's the latest you have?
Yeah, we're getting more out of Meade County where things have quieted down. They're able to start assessing some things, multiple power lines down, trees down on roadways, even a tree on a camper in Otter Creek. Thankfully, no injuries to report, but they're also getting numerous power outages from all the power lines coming down in Meade County due to the storms that moved through earlier.
Suzanne?
Yeah, and actually what we can do, Eric, when you were mentioning some of the power outages, we can actually take a look at some of those power outages right now to give you some perspective on those areas that saw some of those stronger winds. This is a percentage. It might be easier to do county power outages as far as totals. You were mentioning Meade County, Eric, that's 2,000 without power there, about 200 without power in Hardin County, into portions of the metro, about 16,000 reportedly without power there, and into portions of Bullitt County, about 5,500. So certainly power outages, a safe bet into portions of the WLKY viewing area here this evening, Eric.
Yeah, and as these storms were racing off to the east and holding just southwest of the metro, they just went crazy, tapped into some of that wind energy, started to bring it down towards the ground. We started to pick up some of these damage reports, started to see some of these little tornado spin-ups on the radar scan, and we still have that potential. So here's the very latest now, getting close to 10:30. On this Sunday night, here's the very latest we have for you. Still strong and severe storms moving across our east and southern communities. Just now tuning in the Metro, we are done with the severe weather. We are done with any and all severe weather threats across Oldham County. We're done as you move north into Trimble County, Carroll County. We're done across sections of Bullitt County. We're just about done in Hardin County and just about done in Grayson County. Now, if you're anywhere along the heavier band of rain, thunder, lightning, or east of there, we still have that threat that is running very high for scattered wind damage. Wind that could be upwards of 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, and even isolated tornado spin-ups. And we have that especially now in northern portions of Washington County, where a tornado warning remains in effect. We also have a tornado warning that remains in effect for far eastern Spencer County and southeastern Shelby County. But the storm that really sticks out to me is that one right there. That is near Fredericktown, the Crokes area, and just south of Woodlawn. So we're moving from Nelson County into Washington County right now.
Yeah, and that's the storm. Jay, you've been tracking that for the past several miles as it was moving through sections of Nelson County, actually before it had a warning on it, but certainly exhibiting the potential for some very strong winds, anywhere from 50, 48 miles per hour, and that's just what we're picking up as far as the radar. So again, we'll be watching for that line as it continues to now move a little bit closer over to the Willisburg area, likely moving into portions of Mooresville. As we take a look, we haven't seen much hail recently with that particular storm. Obviously, the shear has been something that has been catching the eye. And now down a little bit farther down to the south into the Laredo area, we're now starting to see a little bit of rotation showing up there too. Yeah,
this tells me that the wind field is extremely chaotic right now as it moves across our southeastern communities, running from Washington County into western Marion County, and then farther southeast into southwest, I should say, into LaRue County. So it's the leading edge of that area of brighter red where the winds could be extremely high, causing some wind damage, and that chance for a little tornado spin up as that moves quickly off to the east at speeds of around 50 miles an hour. Suzanne, can you put a little storm track on that potential tornado? Now, again, we're tracking where there could be a tornado spin up. And this thing has been alive and well, really, for the past, half hour to an hour or so. There it is, immediately off to the northeast of Fredericktown. This is where we're picking up rotation. Moving eastbound Willisburg, you're about 1041 or so is when it could be impacting you. Matter of fact, we'll go down the list here. The Hardesty area, 1036. The Litzy area, 1037, Pleasant Grove, 1039, and then you get towards Willisburg and Mackville, a little bit closer to 1045 or so Eastern time, when this rotation could be impacting your community or come close to your area.
So they've trimmed Nelson County out of it because it's now pretty much into Washington County. So we just have the tornado warning ongoing for Washington County for that area that Jay was just mentioning.
And the warning, the tornado warning that was farther north, has been kind of downgraded. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning, but the warning that was in effect for Shelby County, Spencer County, now a severe thunderstorm warning. But you can see NWS is lighting up this line, so to speak. We're going severe thunderstorm warnings pretty much all along and east of this line for the potential for some wind damage. Scattered pockets of winds easily in excess of 60 miles an hour. And Suzanne, that is now well off to the northeast. So new warnings have been issued up here in Owen County and points east. This right here, that is Henry County and points off to the east. We have the capital city, Franklin County, and then farther south of there on into Anderson County, then you get into that tornado warning.
Yeah, so if you're just joining us, obviously right along that line of storms, we have basically warnings from north to south. What you need to be aware of, we have had reports of winds the upwards of 60 miles per hour. We've had a number of damage reports from this line of storms. A very dangerous situation. It's happening at night. Obviously, it's difficult to see. We've got a line of storms, some of those storms exhibiting some rotation and some very powerful winds. We've had several thousand power outages as well because of some of these storms moving through, and winds the upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour. We only have one tornado warning at this time, but you can see the line of dangerous storms continuing to move through the viewing area.
Yeah, now it is through the metro. That's the good news. I think we're done with the metro, but yeah, Suzanne was talking about the threat for wind damage is still running pretty high on this Sunday night, and in particular where there could be a tornado spin-up in Washington County of Kentucky.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll be watching that into the Booker area. That's going to be heading into Hardesty in the next couple of minutes. Litzy, Pleasant Grove, Willisburg, Mackville, Battle, near Cardwell. And as we can see that sweep kind of moving through, you can see the movement of it. Notice it's now a little bit closer over to Hardesty. What we're watching is that little notch right there. I want to get in a little bit tighter here to just give you some roads here. So Hayes Lane, right near areas of Poland Road, Mooresville, Valley Hill Road, right along the Hardesty area. That looks to be the area, if we were to see a tornado, I think it would be in that particular area.
I agree, yeah, and it is racing off to the east. Now, it looks like it's going to stay south of Springfield in Washington County, but yeah, look at that. That is still very, very nasty looking on the radar scan here. So if there is a tornado, it'd be right in the Hardesty area or immediately south of there. There's Valley Hill, very high winds pivoting across your region. So the threat for wind damage and a tornado spin up running pretty high across central portions of Washington County as this cell moves quickly off to the east and also the southeast. Heavy wind producing storms down here in Marion County, especially west of Lebanon, through places like Loretto, over towards Raywick, and then back off to the southwest as we move into far southeastern LaRue County. Still be on the lookout for some pretty strong winds in scattered locations, and that'll carry us down into Taylor County, northern Greene County, as well as Hart County, where severe thunderstorm warnings remain in effect for the next several minutes. This entire zone, though, wow, is it flying? Should be out of the viewing area, guys, you think, in the next 30 to 60 minutes.
That's right. As we head into the 11 o'clock hour, this storm actually moving a little bit more quickly than it looked like yesterday. But that's actually some good news for us. Let's get it out of here. Let's get you to bed so that you can get a good night's sleep. But the bottom line is this storm right now is still dangerous. We still have that tornado warning. Jay was watching that storm as it was developing across areas of Bardstown. So it has maintained its strength over the past several miles. So just an indication of the strength of this dynamic storm system moving through the area with really thousands of power outages, Eric.
Yeah, we have had a report of some power lines down in the Hillview area here in Jefferson County and out towards Valley Station, some reports of power lines down. The other thing with this, I just looked at the current temperature. We're down to 56 degrees. So temperature's dropping about 20 degrees as that initial line moves through. So that shows you it is really cooling off behind it, and that's why we're just getting that lighter rain on the backside. So it's just that initial band, and then things really cool off behind it.
Okay, Eric, thanks so very much. All right, so we are still tracking some strong and severe storms across our east and southern communities. The storms, at least the severe weather threat, is out of the metro. We're going to hold on to light to at times moderate rain in town for the next hour or two at least, but the threat for severe weather has ended in the metro. However, it's still running pretty high here, especially in Washington County of Kentucky and very close to the Hardesty area, perhaps near Hardesty and now just east of there as you get closer to Willisburg and the Pleasant Grove and the Litzy area. State Road 555, for example, that zone of Washington County getting hit very hard right now with high winds and very heavy rainfall, and still that potential for maybe a quick hitting tornado. We're going to have to watch. This is why the tornado warning remains in effect. it would be right there in the Litzy area, 555, and heading off to the east. There you go. Suzanne is circling that zone for me where there could be a potential tornado spin-up. And Suzanne, if we could, I know it's going to be a pretty tiny track, but let's track this velocity couplet as it moves off to the east, because looks like it could come close to Willisburg. I want you, if you're in Willisburg, over towards Battle, Mackville, even Jenkinsville, for example, even the Thompsonville area, get into that place of safety and stay there, please, until this storm has passed on through, because we're still looking at least the potential for some pretty high winds and maybe a quick hitting tornado spin up. So anywhere from Willisburg and points south, yeah, that chance for some wind damage, which is running pretty high right now. That's from a quick hitting tornado threat. Now, as we pull out and take a look at more of the viewing area, this line of storms still has the potential for 50 to 60 mile-an-hour winds, especially in our far east and southern communities. And that's why we have severe thunderstorm warnings pretty much all along the line and points off to the east. So, boy, a powerful line, guys, that has really gotten going, so to speak, over the past couple of hours as it moved into our viewing area.
And if you're in the Holy Cross area, a little bit closer to Burke Spring, I would be on the lookout for some very strong winds. So this is just outside of Frogtown, just north of St. Mary, north of Lebanon. We're seeing some pretty decent winds showing up here. And I would be prepared for some strong winds in the Laredo area, heading a little bit closer over to Lebanon as well. And you can see that kind of pushing into the Springfield area. Springfield not under a tornado warning, but you are under a severe thunderstorm warning, and that's why. See those winds? Winds 53 miles per hour, 49 miles per hour. That's just a radar indication, but I suspect we could be dealing with winds that are even stronger than that, so that's why I want you to be in your place of safety and stay away from windows if at all possible. But that's going to be heading into Jimtown, Springfield. Probably, if it all holds together, which it looks like it has been, over near Lebanon, a little bit closer over to Poplar Corner as well.
They're thinking it might be broadening and weakening the rotation in that tornado warn cell, but more going to a straight line event, kind of leading on that.
Okay, Eric, thanks so very much. All right, so everything is now east and south of the metro. We'll soon be pushing out of the viewing area, but we're going to hang with this until it clears the WLKY viewing area. This has been a very nasty line of storms that really took shape over the past couple of hours, has been causing damage. As it's been moving quickly off to the east, it's been causing some ponding on the roadways. We even have a flash flood warning in effect for areas off to the west and northwest of the metro for some very heavy rainfall. So this has done a number on the region. Suzanne, where is this?
So actually, I brought this over into Frankfort because that's where that storm is right now. It's right near US 127 at J.C. Penney. Just to give you an indication for some ground truth here of the gusty winds and that really heavy rainfall, to just give you an idea of what's happening out there as we're continuing to monitor some of these storms. There's a lot of standing water on some of our highways. That's 65 right at the Bluegrass Parkway, at the Western Kentucky Parkway. It is still pouring here. Taking a quick live look at a few other spots. That's the Gene Snyder at Bardstown Road. You can see some of that standing water out there, and still quite a few lightning strikes. This is 264, a little bit closer over to Cane Run Road. On the upper deck of the Sherman-Minton Bridge, you can see it is still pouring here. So while the severe weather threat is done, we are still seeing some pockets of very heavy rainfall. When we take a look at the big picture here, you can still see that heavy rainfall moving across portions of the WLKY viewing area. That's not what we're concerned about as a whole. What we're watching for, the line of storms moving through portions of, you can see Shelby County, back across portions of Washington County, Marion County, northern areas of Taylor County and Greene County, back across portions of Hart County. The leading edge of that line, and Jay, that's where we've been seeing the lion's share of the damaging winds from this. It's right on the front of that line where we have seen that forward motion coupled with a very dynamic storm system really racing through the region and unfortunately knocking out power, which of course is so scary when that happens at night. So we know a lot of people are without power right now.
Okay, so severe weather continues mainly east and south of the metro and will likely do so for the next hour or so. Then it will be pulling out of our viewing area. But of immediate concern, let's zoom in to that tornado storm in Washington County. Now, this is just off to the north of Springfield. This is very close to Willisburg right now, from what I was seeing on both the velocity scan and our rotation detector as well. Okay, see that darker area of red in Willisburg, and just south of there, there's very high winds, the pink zone. That implies cyclonic rotation right there, so that's why the tornado warning remains in effect. I will say that this couplet has weakened a little bit, but hey, in the atmosphere we have tonight, it still could actually cause a quick hitting tornado spin up. And of course, as Suzanne and Eric have been talking about, it's nighttime and we just want to be in our place of safety until this storm has passed on through. And you can see there's one little batch of high winds right there where we've been talking about a potential tornado spin up near Mackville and just north of there to Willisburg. And then we have what looks to be straight line winds that could cause some damage down across Marion County and points south from there. In addition to extremely heavy rainfall, hail threat, guys, looks to really be dropping off now across the region.
Yeah, I don't think we're picking up really. In fact, let's go ahead and pull up the hail. It looks like there might have been a little bit into areas right along 65, perhaps a little while ago, south of Hodgenville, right into LaRue County. But that's really about it when we take a look at the hail tracker. Let's go ahead and just paint on that shear for you and to just show you some areas that might catch the eye. That's where we, of course, have that tornado warning in between Willisburg and Mackville. We're seeing some rotation. We're also seeing rotation heading right on top of Lebanon and Jessestown, as well as into the Hobson area. Not indicating necessarily a tornado or anything like that, but perhaps, as Jay was mentioning, some straight line winds. And a lot of times just really strong storms have a tendency to rotate sometimes. So right along this line, that is where we are seeing those severe storms continuing to move through. And Eric, have we gotten any more damage reports?
No more damage reports, but it looks like they're going to let the tornado warning and those warnings to the south be able to expire here in 1 minute at 10:45, and they're just going to put a gigantic severe thunderstorm warning along that leading edge for the still possible of 70-mile-an-hour winds as it continues to race off to the east.
Okay, and it does look like the threat right now runs from the capital city down to Springfield to Lebanon and then curves back off to the west into northern Hart County and far southern portions of Grayson County. Grayson County, that does not look severe to me, but it looks like there could be additional strong storms heading towards our friends there in Bowling Green as well. So Louisville, we're done. We're out of the woods. The rain is going to continue for the next hour or two, but the threat for severe weather has ended. Of course, having said that, Suzanne, what'd you say? 17,000 without power?
I think it was actually about 16,000. Let me go ahead and let me paint those back on for you because they may have been updated. They usually update relatively quickly, so we can take a look at our county outage power totals, and we can see, and you can see obviously those areas that were hard hit. So 18,000 into Jefferson County, 5,500 into Bullets County, only about 900 in Harrison County, Meade County about 2,000, about 2,500 into areas of Breckinridge County, and then you can see about 200 into Hardin County for our friends in Spencer County, about 100 there.
Yeah, it looks like the wind swath that caused the most problems was basically the southern one half of Jefferson County down to about E-Town. And then it's that core that just continued to move off towards the east, causing the tornado warnings, the severe thunderstorm warnings, and of course the damage reports that Eric has been talking about for the past hour or two. All right, high winds continue on the eastern flank of this thunderstorm zone, of which is still looking pretty mean on the radar scan in our far eastern communities. And everything should be pulling out of the viewing area here in the next hour.
In the next couple of minutes, we expect it to continue to progress out of the viewing area on the northern side of it, starting to push into portions of Franklin County and starting to move a little bit closer over to that I-75 corridor. So it'll be more of a Lexington problem versus a problem for us. That being said, we're still watching at this time for a number of warnings, especially for the southern sections in the WLKY viewing area. As Jay was mentioning, transitioning perhaps into more of a straight line wind threat for us. We don't want to let down our guard with a straight line wind event either, though, because still that can cause some damage. And we have had some reports of some damage with some downed trees, especially across portions of Meade County and into portions of Jefferson County as well. As Eric was mentioning, this is a really strong storm system. We had temperatures in the 70s today. It felt warm. It felt humid. We now have temperatures in the 50s, and Eric was mentioning that our temperature plummeted about 20 degrees as that cold front was sweeping through, and these storms are a result of the leading edge of that cold front, and that's what we're dealing with right now.
Okay, this is out of the viewing area, but a brand new tornado warning has just been issued for down here in Warren County for Bowling Green. Okay, so in Bowling Green, we have that tornado warning in effect, and it carries back off to the west. So I know we have lots of people who have, you know, friends, family, kiddos down there at Western Kentucky University. Well, a tornado warning has just been issued for Bowling Green and points off to the west to near Russellville. So give them a quick text, a quick phone call, and say, hey, you know, maybe they're not watching TV, maybe they're studying, whatever the case may be, but make sure that they know that a tornado warning is in effect for Western Kentucky University in the Bowling Green area. In our viewing area, we're still talking about severe thunderstorm warnings on the eastern flank. That would include eastern portions of Washington County up into Anderson County, to Franklin County, and then into southern Owen County. And this is getting into our far, far eastern communities. We'll be pulling out here in relatively short order, but where you see the shades of red and orange, that's where the rain is coming down extremely hard. That's where the thunderstorms are the largest. The cloud tops are the tallest, so they're actually poking into jet stream level winds, able to pull some of that energy down to the ground. This is the rainfall rate. Now, you're not going to get this much rain, but it's coming down at over 7 inches per hour in a few isolated locations. That's just telling us that there's ponding on the roadways going on. The visibility is dramatically cut, especially when you have these very high winds. So it is causing problems, and it's moving quickly off to the east, of course. And some of this rain has caused a problem with a flash flood warning that was issued west and northwest of the metro earlier. But now, again, you can see here in Washington County and then heading on over into Mercer County and Boyle County, severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect. And the high wind field certainly continues to march its way off to the east very, very quickly.
And just over the past 3 hours, we have seen some areas picking up 2 inches of rainfall into portions of Oldham County. It looks like maybe about 1.1 inches of rainfall there across areas of northern Breckinridge County, about 1 inch of rainfall. And again, that's just over the past couple of hours that we've been seeing some of that very heavy rainfall. I wonder if in northern Harrison County, if we maybe had a little bit of hail, and that might be a bit deceptive there, because certainly we saw some very heavy rainfall. And that was just, again, over the past 3 hours, and it is still continuing to rain. Something to point out as we're looking ahead into this week. Wednesday, we have another chance of severe storms, and then we're going to be watching for the potential of seeing some very heavy rainfall on Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend, and that could cause some additional flooding concerns. So we're going to be watching this week like a hawk. We're welcoming April, and you know the drill. It's the Ohio Valley, and we're going to be watching for some strong storms and some very heavy rainfall. At least it's not boring here, Jay. That is for certain.
You got that right. Yeah, the second half of this upcoming work week into next weekend does look very, very unsettled. So just kind of keep that in mind. And, of course, as we get a little bit closer, we'll be keeping you updated on what you can expect in your hometown and when you can expect it, exactly what type of weather. New warnings now being issued farther off to the east, up and down the I-75 corridor in the Lexington area. This is getting ready to move out of the WLKY viewing area altogether. However, we can't put down our guard if we're in Anderson County, if we're in Washington County of Kentucky, and then trailing back off towards the southwest. Now south of the Parkway, south of the Western Kentucky Parkway, and south south of the Bluegrass Parkway because, boy, we're looking at some pretty heavy rainfall, and this seems to be kind of training over the same areas. So we might be looking at some hydro problems, maybe a little bit of flooding, or at least some ponding going on some of those roadways south of the parkways here over the next hour or so. And then that severe weather actually ramps up again as you travel down to near Bowling Green over to near Russellville, where a new tornado warning was just issued. We'll have to watch that, Sal, because that could clip portions of Adair County in our viewing area over the next hour. So we'll watch it like a hawk for you. You don't have to worry about that. But in the interim, it is south of the viewing area, and let's hope it actually holds south, and let's hope it doesn't cause a problem at all in Bowling Green or surrounding communities.
Most definitely. And you can see when we take a look at kind of the wider perspective here, boy, we have warnings up and down. You can see across areas of Tennessee, back across portions of Ohio. This was a huge storm system that we were monitoring, a very dynamic storm system. So right now, if you're wanting to go to bed and you're a little bit nervous too, if you're in the metro, you're fine. Stay, of course, tuned to WLKY for our 11 o'clock newscast, but then you can go to bed. But we are still watching across some portions of Shelby County. That warning's still there, but the severe weather has moved out of Shelby County. It's now moving into Franklin County, and you can see everything kind of moving out of the WLKY viewing area. Still into some sections of Washington County, we're still dealing with some very heavy rainfall and likely some pretty gusty winds as well in that area. So bottom line, we're going to be talking about a cooler day for tomorrow with some lingering showers possible, but we have those warnings, and I suspect we'll continue to see those warnings trimmed down as we're heading a little bit later within the next several minutes. In fact, we'll continue to see these warnings moving out of the WLKY viewing area. Our main concern, I think, going forward would be the southern sections of the WLKY viewing area, Jay. As you mentioned, perhaps into Adair County, if that line that we're seeing moving across portions of Bowling Green holds together and then tracks off to the east, if that were to hold together and move basically due east, that's when we're looking at a threat for Adair County and perhaps down into portions of Greene and Taylor counties.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that will be the show going forward the next hour or two. What does the southern line segment do? Exactly. Where does it track? And again, does it weaken? Does it intensify? There's still a lot of energy out ahead of this main line of storms. You can see new showers and rumbles of thunder trying to form in southern Greene County, southern Taylor, and also Adair County. So we'll continue to monitor our far southern communities here until this activity is completely out of the viewing area. Doesn't matter if it's north, south, or in the metro. We're going to track it. We're going to keep you posted as this threatening weather works on through. The metro is done. Much of the viewing area is done. Matter of fact, the tornado watch, I suspect, has been dropped for the metro. If not, I expect it to soon be dropped because our threat is done.
Yeah, I mean, they're continuing it for areas basically south of the river, but I think it's fair to say, with the exception of our far eastern county of Washington County, and again, farther down to the south into Greene and Taylor counties, we'll still keep monitoring that situation for you, but the bottom line is if you're basically, would say, north of the parkways, we're in better shape. I think we're fine. We're talking about some heavy rainfall and some lightning. So
bottom line, if you have to get to bed, you're around the metro, you're north of the parkways, you got an early day tomorrow like many of us do heading back to work. Yeah, get to bed, get some sleep. A lot of folks on spring break, JCPS on spring break, right?
JCPS, Oldham County on spring break, a lot of communities on spring break, so maybe those kids staying up a little later tonight, you know, and a lot of people are afraid of storms, and with good reason. You know, these have been damaging storms. We had a number of tornado warnings. It's really, you know, very nerve-wracking when that happens, and again, that's why we're here, and maybe annoying some people by being on, but, you know, also letting you know what's happening with the weather.
And then farther off to the east of I-75, we had that severe thunderstorm watch that was just posted. So that goes until 6 a.m. But then again, that is east of our region. So we're just about ready to say goodbye to these thunderstorms. Our newscast is going to be kicking off here at the top of the hour around 11 o'clock or so.
11:30?
11:30 now. Okay. So we're going to stay on just a little bit longer. We're going to get these storms through the viewing area, and they're just about done. So we'll just be watching this activity as it gets on out of here. Eric.
Getting a bunch of reports now here in Jefferson County since things have kind of quieted down. People are starting to get out and assess it. We have a tree down on a home in St. Matthews and a tree down on a car near the airport. So lots of trees probably have fallen throughout the neighborhoods, especially on the southern half of the county where we saw those stronger wind gusts come through is where we're starting to get some damage reports out.
I couldn't imagine if we had a full canopy of leaves out there. I mean,
yeah.
So thank goodness for that.
That's actually a really good point, Jay, because obviously we haven't seen everything blooming just quite yet. So that can cause some additional problems when we've had some pretty strong winds out there. That's also another concern because we're not quite lush. We're going to be looking at some concerns maybe with the flooding a little bit later in the week because we're going to see maybe more runoff versus some of the absorption because we are not into the full kind of heat of spring, if you will. So we'll be watching for some flooding concerns a little bit later this week. So sometimes it's good to have that full canopy out there and sometimes it's bad. So in this case, perhaps it prevented our seeing more trees down.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric, what radar do you have up there? Is that 3? Lynx 3 or is that Lynx 2?
That's 2.
Lynx 2. Take that in the key wall for me. Lynx 2 real quick. This is the rainfall as it occurred as these line of storms have worked on through. And you can see the greens, that corresponds to upwards of 1 inch, maybe a little bit higher. You get into the yellows over 2 inches. You get into some of these oranges. We're talking 3 to 4 inches. Yes, there could have been some hail contamination with these rainfall amounts, but no question about it. A flash flood warning was also issued up in this region too. So we've had some runoff problems in that heavier zone where 2 to 3, locally 4 inches of rain may have come down, along with the hail as well. Rainfall's been a little bit lighter the farther east you go as the storms picked up speed. They really started to fly off to the east at speeds of 50 to 60 miles an hour once they approached I-65, and they continue to push off to the east, and they're approaching I-75 as we speak. So conditions are quieting down, no question about it, here in the metro especially. Our Tri-Mark camera network, you had that camera, Suzanne. What was that? Was that the...
Yeah, so we have a couple of cameras up here that we can show you. This is 65 right near Arthur Street, and you can see it is absolutely pouring still. That's a quick look at the Sherman-Minton Bridge. I can show you a few more of our cameras here just to give you an idea of what's happening across the area. This is 64 at 264 in western Jefferson County. A quick look here. This is the Watterson over by Brownsboro Road. This is 264 at Cane Run Road. This is what it looks like at the Gene Snyder at Bardstown Road here. Taking a quick look, this is the Gene Snyder over by Preston Highway here. Taylorsville Road, that exit from the Watterson. I'm not quite sure whether they're zoomed in there, but this is the Gene Snyder over at Taylorsville Road, and you can see very wet out here. Yeah. This is 65 right at the Western Kentucky Parkway, at the Bluegrass Parkway. That's what that looks like here. And then this is what that shot looks like from Franklin County. So definitely some very wet conditions. Some of our live cameras that we have, you can see very soggy out there, still seeing some rain across our local area here this evening. And we did get some reports of some hail. You can see this was from earlier from Karen into southern sections of Jackson County, some of the hail. We've been so busy we haven't been able to pull our pictures yet, but if you do have pictures, storm damage, anything like that, feel free to hop on to our Facebook page or email us.
Okay, gang, so here it is. We're pulled out, taking a look at the entire viewing area, kind of resetting things here for you. It's 11 o'clock on this Sunday night. Still tracking some pretty strong storms, now shifting in our far southeastern communities, about ready to move out of the viewing area altogether. Here in town, still some light to at times moderate rainfall, and that is really the general story across the better part of the viewing area as the threat for severe weather continues to really drop off and shift off to the east. But it's still running quite high out near Lexington. The I-75 corridor still have a small sliver of a severe thunderstorm warning. Eastern Washington County, that is in our viewing area. That'll soon be moving out. And we continue to track a pretty strong storm that's showing signs of rotating down here in the Bowling Green area and west from there to near Russellville, where a tornado warning is in effect. It's radar indicated, It is nighttime, so again, if you have friends and family down in Bowling Green, down in the Western Kentucky region, Western Kentucky University, give them a quick call, quick text, just say, hey, get to your place of safety and stay there until that storm has passed on through, because again, at the minimum, some wind damage is a pretty good bet in and close to Bowling Green. But the wind damage threat is done here in the metro. It's done if you reside along or north of the parkways, as things will continue to quiet down and even slowly dry out as we move through the overnight period. Eric, any new updates on?
Just some more reports coming in of trees blocking roadways in Bullitt County towards the Lebanon Junction, and also some more tree down out towards St. Matthews, that's where that system kind of moved through that we were tracking. So I'm sure the storm reports from tree downs and power outages will continue to increase through the night as people get out there and can kind of assess the situation.
I'll be curious to see if we get any reports from the Fairdale area as well, because that's where we were seeing that storm really wrapping up. In fact, we were seeing some of the strongest winds a little bit south of the St. Matthews area. So where we had that tornado warning was south of St. Matthews, kind of south of 64. So we'll have to continue to see what happens over the next several hours as more reports come in. And of course, it's dark. A lot of people will have to deal with those problems, but we're going to be watching for probably as the sun comes up tomorrow to get additional storm reports.
And I'm sure they'll be sending plenty of crews out to do assessments as all those warnings came through the area. So we'll hopefully get some official reports on if any of those systems did touch down and produce tornadoes in our area, hopefully by tomorrow afternoon or evening at the latest.
Yeah.
Okay, Eric, thank you so very much. Guys, I think we're about done with this event. What we're going to do is one last look, one last go around just to get you to bed, and you don't have to worry about any strong or severe storms. Okay, here's the very latest we have. New severe thunderstorm watches have been issued east of the viewing area. We have severe thunderstorm warnings now being issued east of the viewing area up and down the I-75 corridor. That severe thunderstorm warning catches a small sliver of eastern Washington County, east of Springfield. But it looks like the highest wind field is now east of Washington County. Good news. Just pockets of heavy rainfall from time to time. Grayson County, Hart County, LaRue County, back into Marion County. Additional showers and rumbles of thunder trying to redevelop southern Greene, southern Taylor, Adair counties. And again, another segment causing some issues, but south of the viewing area where a tornado warning is in effect for Warren County. And this will go for the next several minutes. This does include Bowling Green and the Western Kentucky University area. Suzanne, last thoughts?
You know, we're just going to be watching this not only obviously for the rest of the night with just some rumbles of thunder and some heavy rainfall, but later this week we're going to keep our eyes peeled for the potential of another developing storm system that could bring us strong to severe storms late on Wednesday. And then we're going to have to watch for several rounds of heavy rainfall moving through our area potentially as we head into your Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. Some of the earlier forecast models were painting on perhaps 6 inches of rainfall. That will cause some flooding concerns. So we don't want to let down our guard yet as we head throughout this week. We have a lot going on. Of course, Eric will have the very latest tonight coming up during the broadcast.
Okay, Suzanne, thanks so very much. What we're going to do is we're going to get you back to programming for the next half hour or so. Our newscast will show up at 11:30 tonight. Eric Zernick, he'll have the very latest on the showers and storms pivoting across the region. In the interim, we'd like to thank you for allowing us to keep you and your family safe and informed. Please know the rain will continue on and off for the next hour or two. If there's a threat for any additional warnings or even strong storms the next couple of hours, it's going to be our far, far southern communities, most notably southern Hart, Greene, Taylor, and Adair counties, and that should be just about it. But we're thinking that line segment may actually pass off to the south. Nonetheless, we will all be here keeping you up to date in case that warning, that ban intensifies just a little bit and does cause more warnings in our southern communities. Let's get you back to programming, and we'll see you in about 30 minutes for our newscast at that time.
And over time, it can help lower your A1C.